Hey guys, it's CrystalRenèe here. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for joining. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to grow Spathiphyllum, aka peace lily. Disclaimer, I am not a professional. I will just be sharing with you all what I do in my home with my plants, and hopefully it can help you out with your collection as well. If you're interested to see what I did to grow my peace lily, then stay tuned. First, let me give you a backstory. I first brought this peace lily home June 1st, 2018. It was fairly in okay condition and it had plenty of blooms on it. I was brand new to being a plant mom, so I repotted it right away into its new planter, but as you can see, it was a bit root bound. And once she was all potted up, I think she looked amazing. Her blooms were so huge and beautiful, and so was her foliage. Her leaves were large as well. Excuse the boxes in this picture. I was still getting settled into my new apartment, so that is why you see the boxes. So here in this picture, my money tree and my peace lily were the second and third plants in my collection, and I set them both in my southwest facing window where they lived. My peace lily seemed to be doing good in this corner up until about the end of July, I want to say, is when she began to die back. In fact, it was kind of strange because she was dying and growing at the same time. But me being a new plant mom, I had no idea what was going on. But now that I look back, I just think this was just a normal stage that she was going through. Even though she had lost all her blooms, her foliage still looked amazing. It was beautiful green and lush. So, to my knowledge, I was taking great care of her. I found myself loving on her until I loved on her just a little bit too much. And I began to overwater her. During this time, I wasn't aware that I was overwatering her. But with some knowledge and learning and time and trial and error, I've come to know that that was the reason why the tips of her leaves were browning, and through it all, she was still trying to thrive. She was still putting off new growth and still trying to bloom, but dying back at the same time. Here's some footage of her still trying to come back. By the time December rolled around, she was looking really scarce. And that is because every time she would get a brown leaf, I would clip it off. And as you can see, she was still pushing out new growth, but she was thinning out as well. I continued clipping back the brown leaves, and I even tried moving her to different locations in my apartment. As you can see, I moved her away from the window, thinking that the sun was burning the leaves. But nope, she just kept dying and dying and dying. So I did eventually move her back to the window, but this time I let her dry completely. I mean completely, before I watered her again. And it seemed to work. And she started thriving. I would only water her when her leaves began to droop, or if the moisture meter indicated that the soil was dry. And just with those few changes, she began to thrive. I didn't do much. I just started noticing that her leaves began to grow and grow and grow. It took a long time before I saw another bloom, but just recently she bloomed. So about almost a month has passed, and since then she has given me 3 more blooms, bringing me to a total of 4 blooms. So at this point, I think I know what I'm doing with her. So let's just jump into some care tips. Let's start with the soil. As far as her soil, I have been using Miracle Grow mixed with a little bit of perlite, and I believe that is all that is in the mixture of the soil in her planter. And as far as the sun, I keep her in bright indirect light in my south-facing window where she loves it, and I rotate her at least 2 to 3 times a week. That way all her foliage gets an even share of sunlight. When it comes to watering, like I mentioned earlier, I water once to twice a week depending on the type of day it is. If it is a sunny, bright day, keep in mind I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, so my weather conditions are a bit different from where you may live. So some days are drier than others, so sometimes I may have to water her twice a week. But I only determine that based on what my moisture meter reads and if the leaves are drooping. Although this is optional, I do water my peace lily with distilled water. You can opt out of this and settle for tap water. You can fill up an empty gallon, let your tap water sit overnight, and you can water your plant with that. But I personally prefer to water all my plants with distilled water purchased from the store. When it comes to fertilizer, I want to say I've only fertilized this plant 2 to 3 times in the whole entire time of having this plant. I typically fertilize with the liquid fertilizer, and I just follow the measurements by the container, and I fertilize as I water. And that is how I typically care for my peace lily. Now I know some of you may be wondering, I thought this plant was a low light plant. Well, you're right. It can be. You don't necessarily have to place your peace lily in a bright, indirect, sunny area. It will continue to thrive in a low light area, but it may grow a bit slower than normal. So keep that in mind. If you want your plant to grow a lot faster, then you may want to place it in a brighter area so that it can thrive a bit more. Well, that is all that I have for this video. I hope I was able to help somebody out with caring with their peace lily. And if you like this video, please give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. So if you feel I forgot anything, or if there's anything that you would like to add, please leave it in the comments below. And until next time. Hey, Don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms. And until next time, happy growing!